A celebration of the director Sterlin Harjo by Paige Cahorn. To start at the very beginning, Sterlin Harjo was born and raised in the township of Holdenville, Oklahoma. He's a part of the Seminole Nation of Oklahoma and also has Muskogee heritage. As a child, he always had ambitions to be a painter. His preferred form of expression was painting instead of filmmaking. Whenever he would watch something on the television, he was confused about the films that he saw, especially westerns. In an interview with Joshua Klein, he explains how weird it was to see the depictions of Indigenous people in film. Harjo says it's really sort of conflicting. On the one hand, you're excited because you're seeing people that are what you grew up knowing that you are, and to see them on film is a sort of a rare opportunity. And on the other hand, it's kind of ridiculous, the stuff that you're seeing, because it's not really representative of who you are. In many ways, Harjo couldn't relate to the Indigenous depictions of Hollywood, which made him feel disappointed in himself and his tribe. He thought that they didn't look like true Indigenous people because they didn't fit the stereotypes portrayed in films. Despite this misrepresentation, he fell in love with film and ended up attending University of Oklahoma to study film and art. He believes that since Hollywood has never ameliorated the representation of First Nations in media, that it's up to the Indigenous artists, filmmakers, storytellers, and activists to use their power and voice to make a change. Sterlin Harjo is the co-writer and director of Reservation Dogs, which is the first and only TV series where every writer, director, and series regular is Indigenous. This TV series has made tremendous progress in the representation of Indigenous people. Now to go over a few signature trademarks across Harjo's filmography. At number 1, we have vigilante justice. Harjo includes characters that value their community and the protection of their community and people. Community is an important aspect of many Indigenous cultures, and particularly the ones depicted in his films.
What are you gonna fight for? Ah! Nah, I'm just fucking with you. But for real though.
Number 2 is based on lived experience. By portraying candid Indigenous stories in life, he represents the authenticity of First Nation individuals and their experiences in everyday life. Number 3 is the theme of search for companionship and belonging. This is a common theme that he shares with the director Taika Waititi. Lastly, at number 4, we have the implementation of Indigenous spirits and belief. 2 prime examples of this can be seen in the television series Reservation Dogs as Deer Lady and the censoring of owl eyes. Some Indigenous tribes believe owl eyes are made from the fingernails of the dead, and Sterlin Harjo pixelates their eyes as a joking reference to their negative association with death.
Oh fuck, hell no, not an owl! Oh my god. Yo, that's not a good sign.
In reviewing Reservation Dogs, Anton Patel talks about the truth told through Harjo's fiction. The stories of absent fathers, substance abuse, suicide, property stripping, and abandonment are characterized by the grieving teens that are simply trying to navigate their life on an Oklahoma reservation. As these young characters grow up, they begin to negotiate their place in a community that is frayed, damaged, and scarred, despite having deep family ties. Series creators Sterlin Harjo and Taika Waititi miraculously managed to weave this dark material into the story while maintaining an overall bright tone. At its core, the series is a comedy, but it gradually focuses on deeper issues, having the thrill of life always being tied to death, and with its naturalism is filled with Indigenous spirits and local folklore. Speaking of Reservation Dogs, Sterlin Harjo can also connect to Unit 3 of our course in respect to the Maori director Taika Waititi. Harjo and Waititi share many signature trademarks and similar style in creating their films. They also collaborated in the making of the television series Reservation Dogs. Both directors tell real Native stories based on lived experience, as well as incorporating elements of their own life into their films. Comedy is a really important aspect for the both of them, and despite telling stories about deep, emotional topics, they find a way to incorporate it as a way to tell their stories. One of the only differences between Waititi and Harjo is that Harjo has never acted before, whereas Waititi makes a cameo in nearly every one of his films. A fun fact about Sterlin Harjo is that he's a founding member of the sketch comedy group called the 1491s. To Harjo, this comedy group is a way for him to present humor and satire without including dark material like he does in his films. Sterlin Harjo has made a lasting impact on the film industry, and most definitely concerning the representation of Indigenous cultures in film and media. Harjo is an amazing creator who gets inspiration from his Indigenous heritage and shares his wonderful culture with the world through the vehicle of storytelling. He has and will continue to make incredible progress in reconstructing the Hollywood idea of Indigenous people by bringing genuine cultural stories to life in his films. I highly recommend checking out his works as he creates some of the best Indigenous media and also has so much talent as a filmmaker. Sterlin Harjo is definitely the man to look out for with regard to Indigenous storytelling. Thank you for listening.
Greasy fried bread, greasy fried bread.